I think the hardest part of these videos is the beginning because I never know how to start them. But yeah, I just had a few production updates, and what was I gonna say? I did my makeup today. I'm actually getting ready to go to Starbucks to get some stuff done, because it's just like hard to do it sometimes at my house. But I'm trying to think. Okay, the biggest thing is that my hard drive failed, which you may have seen on my Instagram. So that essentially just means I don't have access to any of my footage. I don't think it's like loss. I think because it's not heat damage or water damage, it literally just stopped working. So I think it's just a matter of retrieving it. And so I actually gave it to my professor, but I'm not sure if, because his wife is a professor of computer science, and so there's a possibility that they can recover the files at her college. That's not a guarantee though, so I'm not really sure. I guess the next thing would just be taking it to a place that does it professionally, and that's fine. It just is expensive, so I'm hoping it doesn't come to that. But the good news though is that my friend Jalen has like all the files on his hard drive, so I'm looking actually to connect with him to get some of that stuff back. But yeah, if I can recover my hard drive though, I'd like to, because it doesn't just have the documentary stuff on it. It has like all my photography from high school and the original files to a lot of my work, and I was like working on this like photo book, and I lost all of that. So yeah, I would really like to get it back if I can. The other thing, oh, and we had Dr. Sizer's interview. That was like, I think it's gonna be about 2 weeks ago now, and that went really well. And I actually do have his files because my hard drive actually failed when I was copying over his interview from the SIM card reader onto, or not a SIM card, but you know what I mean, onto my old drive. And then after that, I clicked to like open the file and there was nothing there, and I was like, that's weird. And then my hard drive failed. But I got a new hard drive and I was able to copy that file because it was still on the card, the original card, onto my hard drive. So I have Dr. Sizer's interview, and I have my mom's interview actually on one of the desktops at school. I just haven't gotten it. I've been running into problems trying to download it onto my new drive, but I don't know. At least I have it somewhere. But yeah, so that's kind of the big two updates. The other update is I think I'm going to really, because this whole time my professor's been like, cut it into a 15-minute piece and that should be good. And for some reason I just haven't been heeding that advice. I've just been like, okay, like yeah. But I think I really am going to do that, and I'm just going to keep it very much distilled because there's all these other themes that I want to explore. And lately I just realized that I'm way too in over my head. And it's not that I'm not going to never explore those. It's just that I think I should cut. Sorry, I'm playing with the magnets on my fridge. The mini fridge. I bought a mini fridge like sometime over the summer when I moved back into my apartment. And, or not my apartment, I moved out of my apartment into my parents' home. But yeah, so I forget what I was saying. Damn it. Shit. Get distracted really easily. Oh, the hard drive, or no, the cutting the film down. So I think I'm gonna do like a 15-minute piece where it's just focused on the heart of the documentary itself, which is like living with trauma that you can't remember. So a lot of the things that I wanted to explore, like religion, like religious trauma, and different therapy practices. I don't know if that's something I don't think it's something we're gonna really dive deep into this original like initial piece, just because again, oh, I just broke my pen. See, when I'm talking I do things mindlessly and then I always regret it. But yeah, so that is I think the tentative plan, to just cut a shorter piece, a very distilled piece. And hopefully maybe with that might open up some different avenues for maybe more resources, or for someone else to take the idea over. I think that would be like an ideal scenario, because obviously like this is like my project, it's like my baby, but I kind of hate working on it sometimes. It's very, and don't feel bad for me because I'm doing it to myself. But yeah, just to focus on something that's like so dark from like the darkest period of time in your life is hard, especially when it's something you haven't really healed from. And again, that's my fault because I kind of just jumped right into this, and I think I do that because I subconsciously don't want to process my emotions. So I'm like, oh, I'll make a project out of it, and that's processing, and like because it's healthy, I get a free pass and I can convince myself that I'm doing something good when really I'm just kind of ignoring my emotions. But yeah, I went to actually okay, so we, like every campus, they have like counseling centers, and I actually made an appointment for the first time ever. I've never seen like a college on campus like therapist, and I went for like an intake appointment last week. I think it was Thursday. Yeah, like Thursday morning. And it was just like weird in a good way, but just like opening up about like, and not even just that stuff, like other stuff, because I have been through like traumatic events that I do remember that I don't even really talk about in my work and stuff, just because it's a little complicated. But yeah, there's just, I think, a lot of like stuff that I have that's not really healed, and now that I'm entering into an adulthood and I'm grounding myself more in reality, because I think when I was an adolescent I was very much in my head all the time, because that was an escape for me. I used to live and it's embarrassing, and like I didn't even, and I'm hesitant to call it embarrassing because I don't want anyone else to take that and internalize it, but I definitely used to daydream a lot. And I was actually talking about this with like one of my childhood best friends last night, and she's like, yeah, you just like weren't there. And in a lot of ways I wasn't, because I just, yeah, I was always in my head, because I just used daydreams to escape the present. And my big daydream, and again, this is so embarrassing, but like literally in my head I was like really important, and I was a photojournalist, and I was famous and very accomplished, and that's what I saw my future was. And the thing is, the problem with this and why it is creating problems now is because I saw myself doing that stuff like now, like as a really young person, and one, I just think that's not really realistic. But it's funny because my therapist, because this is something I talked about like a couple weeks ago in like one of my last sessions with my therapist, because I don't really see her super regularly, and this is a therapist outside of school, not the school therapist. I'm sorry, I feel like I just made things really confusing. But she asked me, she's like, do you think the reason you're kind of like a little depressed is because the fact that what you had envisioned your life to be isn't matching up what you're doing now? And it's funny because I know that I'm like doing well for myself, and like I'm doing things that I'm passionate about, but yeah, I think there's still like this disappointment because it just isn't it's not what was in my head. And again, I know my dreams for what I'd be doing right now are like really unrealistic and just completely unobtainable, but I think there's still like that disappointment there, because they weren't just like, I'm trying to think of a way to word this. Damn. Sorry, I'm gonna take a minute to think. Like the reason I had those daydreams is because they were, I mean, obviously I was trying to escape reality, but it was also like fulfilling myself in other ways. Like, so, a big part of that was like, I'm gonna be so successful one day that everyone has to be proud of me, including my parents. Because, and I'm not saying this to like bash my parents, but I did kind of feel like just growing up, I wasn't necessarily, and when I say growing up, I mean more like when I was a teenager, which, I don't know, I definitely had my bouts as a teenager where I probably wasn't the perfect child anyways, but I felt like, I never really felt like I was maybe like the kid that they wanted, and I don't mean that in like I don't know how to explain it without like making it sound sad, because this is not how my parents feel, obviously, it's just the way I thought that they felt. But yeah, I just felt like, because my dad wanted me to go in finance and my mom wanted me to be like a Christian, and there's like other stuff too, there's just the two things that I got off the top of my head, but yeah, I just always felt like I was kind of letting them down. And and I think that's why like approval of like authoritative figures is such a big thing for me now still, which is kind of cringe because ew, I don't want to live that way. Sorry, I think I woke up and I'm like getting a cold now. But yeah, I forget where I was going with all that. Damn, I had a point, guys. But you know what? I'll just jump to something else, which is I came off my medication. And that was actually about 2 months ago now. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I think views on meds can be very polarized. Because some people are like, bad, putting bad thing in your body make you change. And that's like, okay, like I get where you're kind of coming from. But also like meds really, okay, so my view on meds, sorry, I'm really messy. They really helped me when I needed help. Like when I was in the fall of 2020, well actually it was December when I was first prescribed. I was put on Prozac in December of 2020 because I was just depressed and I literally wasn't sleeping. And then I had my dosage upped about 9 months later in September or late August of 2021 because again I didn't sleep through the night for like a year and a half, and that sucked. But they bumped up my dosage for that because they thought it would help. And I don't know if it helped the sleeping problems, but it definitely helped like with me getting back on my feet, and it helped me function and I think be a better maybe external version of myself, if that makes sense. And it might make more sense in a few minutes when I kind of explain this better. But over this past summer, I just was kind of like, I don't feel like my meds are really helping me anymore. And I just wanted to be off them. And I couldn't even tell you exactly why I wanted to be off them. I just did. And so in very early September of this year, so last month, I like tapered down for like a few days and then I was like, I'm done. And then I just stopped taking my meds, which I don't recommend. If you're gonna come off your meds, talk to your doctor, talk to your therapist. I didn't do any of that, which was bad. And I ended up going through withdrawal and it sucked. So yeah, there's a right way to come off meds and there's an easier way to come off meds. And so just do that. Like, don't do what I did because I'm an idiot. But I came off my meds and I don't regret it, but I'm like, okay, this is what I feel like without medication, because I was just different. I mean, I wasn't an entirely different person for 2 years. I was just, I think, like a more, like I said, externally a better version of myself. And what I mean by that is like, I was more functional and my emotions were blunted so I could get more things done. And from like an employer's perspective, I think they would prefer the medicated version of me. And even though I, since coming off meds, and I've been going through a bit of a rough patch, and I don't think that's necessarily, I think, what am I trying to say here? I think I'd probably be going through a rough patch regardless, because meds themselves, they don't like take the illness away. They just make it more manageable. And like I said, there's this blunting effect and I'm not experiencing that anymore. And so I've just been like, I was gonna say something, but I've just been dealing with the raw, unfiltered version of life, I guess. And that has been, it's taken me some time to adjust to. And I think to a lot of the things, like I said, I went on meds in December of 2020 and I was going through all that stuff and I just kind of stopped processing it. And it was just kind of like putting it up in a box, no pun intended, and like just being like, okay, I'm not gonna touch this anymore. And like I still talked about it in therapy, but like I definitely think, like I said before, meds has this blunting effect. And so being off them now, it's like all those emotions from that time period that I didn't process are coming back to me. And so it's been a little heavy. I've cried like every day for the past few weeks. But the thing is, I'm sorry, my voice is so gross today, guys. I don't even feel like that's a bad thing. Like I said, it's been hard. I've definitely, like, I think I might be a little depressed. just because I've been finding it hard to like enjoy things and stuff like that, and other stuff, but I won't really go into it. But it almost feels good to have that sadness, because it's like, it's nice to feel things again. And I feel like too, I can't remember if I said this earlier or not, but like, ew, I should just, my water's right there. But to like, I don't know, like I feel like more of an adult now. And so I think processing that sadness has been different than it has been in the past. And just, it's weird because I'm going through this hard time right now, and yet I kind of know, I'm like, I feel like this is going to be a growth period for me. Like, I feel like I'm going to change in a good way, but it sucks to be in it right now. And so that's kind of been like the silver lining. And I think that's where like that adult perspective comes in, because as you get older and your brain physically matures and you mature, and you're just willing to, or you're able to step back and look at things differently, especially when it comes to mental health stuff. And I think especially if you've been dealing with mental health stuff for a while, because I think I said before that I've had anxiety my whole life. But yeah, it wasn't until 14 when I went through like my first major depressive episode. And then after that, I've just kind of been like in and out of like depression, and kind of dealing with like a low grade version of depression a lot of the time. Actually, again, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but my one psychologist, like when I was first seeing him, he like thought right away, he was like, okay, I think you have dysthymia, which is just kind of a fancy word for high functioning depression, which makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I think being an adult, you're able to look at things more maturely and kind of step back and see like the bigger picture. And I think having that bigger picture can really be a big facilitator for hope, because you're like, okay, I'm in this right now, but it's not going to last forever. And I think ultimately I'm going to grow because of it, but it really sucks to be in it right now. So you can use logic even when you don't have those good feelings to back up, I don't know, your viewpoint. And again, I don't know if that made any sense. It makes sense in my head. I just feel like when I actually talk about it, it's just kind of stupid. And I think that on a whole is just like a good kind of, I don't think analogy is the right word, but I'm just gonna say analogy for like living with chronic mental health stuff. Because yeah, some people do, it's like a one-time thing, or like, I don't know, I think everyone probably goes through like a depressive episode once in their life. Like I think that is pretty normal. And some people just kind of experience it in their teens, or it's like circumstantial. And other people are just like mentally ill, like sick, for their whole life. It's just something that they're always going to deal with, like a chronic illness. I think I'm unfortunately one of those people, because I've always just been I think it's a mix of, even though it hasn't been treated, I know that there's a history of mental illness on one side of my family, and also my temperament. I've always been very sensitive. Like even as a child, I used to like look at people and just cry because I felt bad for them, which is weird. But I don't know, it just goes to show you, like, I've always been extremely sensitive. And also just like circumstantial stuff, like some of the things I experienced growing up. So I think like depression specifically, I think is always gonna kind of be with me, which sucks. But also I think, and there's this really great quote, and again, I don't remember if I've said this before on here. I know I put it in like a TikTok comment the other day, but and I didn't coin it, so I can't take credit for it, but someone said the goal is not to feel better, it's to live better. And I think ultimately when you do things, like when you do live better, you do feel better a little bit. It doesn't necessarily make the depression go away, but it helps you live with it. And I think you can still lead a meaningful existence and a life that you're proud of and that you're glad that you were given, even while still coping with, chronic mental health issues. I think that made sense. I think that was profound. But yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing. And I think too, like, just being in your 20s is weird. And I've been trying to, like, I don't know what the right word is. It's funny because I thought I was more sure of things as a teenager, and now I'm 20, I'm gonna be 22 soon. Yikes. And also, holy shit, I'm gonna be graduating. I had a meeting today with yesterday with my advisor, and I take like 3 classes next semester, which kind of sucks because I thought it was only gonna be 2, but then, yeah, I don't know. It's not. I have to take 3. But still I'm gonna be part-time, which is weird, and I'm only gonna have classes 2 days out of the week, so that's insane. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh, just trying to look at things differently and realizing, like, hey, you're in your 20s, it's okay if you don't have everything figured out, because I feel like I still don't even have, like, a way of viewing life figured out. Like, I still don't have my perspectives down, or I'm still, like, working out even, like, what I stand for and my belief system and everything else. So, and I think, too, that's just kind of a part of the human experience, which we've kind of erased or overshadowed with talking about mental health, because people are so quick to be like, that's a symptom of mental illness, and it's like, okay, maybe, but also sometimes it's just a consequence of being human. Like, there's things that we experience that are literally just a part of human nature, and I think we need to really start to recognize that more, because I think attaching everything to a mental illness is bad. But that's a whole nother video for another day. But anyways, I've been rambling for 21 minutes now, and I have to take my dog for a walk, and I'm gonna go to Starbucks and try to get some stuff done. I have to design a flyer for, we're doing a screening of, like, a short cut of Silent War at, like a virtual Google fundraiser or something. I'm sorry, I'm not really, I think I haven't gotten a ton of time to talk to Dr. Ching about it, but I have to design a flyer for that, and I'm excited because I like to design stuff. I put on my Morbid podcast, and I work, and it's fun, and I'm excited to go to Starbucks because I'm not even really in the mood for coffee, but it's just nice to be around people. Also, did I mention that I'm just now getting into, like, red lipstick, and I have a red sweater, which I got at Target for 20 bucks. It was on sale, so definitely get one. But yeah, I actually feel better after filming this and doing my makeup, so that all ties back to living better. Just, you know, do little things. And again, I know it doesn't solve the problem, but I think those little spouts of joy count for something. So yeah, I'm sorry this was long. Thanks for watching if you did, and do something little today that makes you feel better. Like, go for a walk or something, or drink a whole glass of water, or take a bath, or go hang out with your friends even if you don't feel like it. So, yeah, I think that's everything. Have a good day, and goodbye.